Good morning and welcome everyone. John Henry Soto here. It is Monday morning, March 2nd, 2026, 7 a.m. Central. This is a live morning space for artists, filmmakers, musicians, and creators who are navigating the real world of making art. On this show, we talk about positivity, but not the fluffy kind. We talk about what actually stops artists from moving forward, the struggles we all face, and how to move through them with clarity and purpose. We'll also highlight good things happening in the industry, share ideas, suggestions, and practical advice, and most importantly, have honest conversations. This is a live show, so if you're here, feel free to ask questions or join in. This is the place to reset, get grounded, and start the day moving forward as an artist. And good morning, everyone. Welcome in. Hope you're all doing well out there. Hope you had a good weekend. I had a great weekend, very busy weekend, a lot of stuff going on. Um, what did I do that was exciting? I don't even know. Well, Saturday I took my daughter and her friends to the mall, which is the first time I've ever done that. And as a dad, as a parent, that's kind of like a big step, right? When you're with your teenage daughter, taking her to the mall with her teenage friends, and they don't want you near them per se. They're not being mean about it. They're very, very nice, sweet kids. But at the same time, they kind of want their own space. They want their privacy. They want they want to be able to explore the mall and stuff. So the mall here, the Opry Mall, has a food court, and in that food court, there's obviously a lot of food, not the greatest quality food, by the way. But they the stores are kind of based all around it, and there's a lot of areas. So I kind of sat in the middle, and I kind of could watch, and I would text her, "Hey, where you at? Y'all good?" Because I'm still new, so I'm still a little protective, obviously. I'm still new to a teenage daughter. So anyway, that was I did that on Saturday. Um, took my son to a play date, to a sleepover, I should say. Then went to the mall, went shopping for food on Friday. Did a big Costco shopping. Costco is my spot that I go to at least once a week, maybe more. No, I'm just kidding, but at least a couple of times a month. I get a lot of stuff at Costco, and so I did that, and it was good. Yesterday I did a bunch of stuff as well. Good times, good times. Hope you're doing well and getting ready to start the week. We're going to be talking about creative burnout. Now, before I start this, I believe, I don't believe, I know that I'm a spiritual being. I know that for a fact. So if anybody's an atheist out there, I will direct you to Pete Holmes, a stand-up comedian who's hilarious, who has this whole thing about how people say nothing. What happened? What happens when you die? They say nothing. Um, and does anything exist? And they're saying nothing. And he said, but you know what really doesn't exist is nothing, because that's the definition of what it means. And I thought that was really really funny. That was the way he expressed it. Just look at Pete Holmes. But anyway, I'm definitely a spiritual being, and spiritual beings do not burn out. You see, there's the key element to this whole talk today, where we want to start thinking of ourselves as spiritual beings. No matter what your faith is, no matter what you believe in, we're not talking about that right now. We're not talking about religion. We're not talking about things you do in a religion. We're talking about spirituality. We're talking about you and your thoughts, your dreams, your goals. You as a spiritual being, right? And as a creative person and a spiritual being, we're talking about that today. And I want to kind of clarify that before we dive in here, because I don't want you to think that I think that a spirit can burn out, right? 'Cause you can't. Now, mentally, you can have fogginess. You can have people in your environment that are bringing you down, suppressing you, suppressing your thoughts. Maybe you don't even know that they're there. You can have friends, family, create barriers for you, or you can have some responsibilities that you have to do before you can. And maybe those responsibilities are a little stressful. Maybe you have a job that you don't like, or maybe you have, maybe you're in a relationship that's weighing you down. And I don't mean romantic. I mean any kind of relationship. Maybe you have a friend that's kind of like, boy, you're a bummer. You know, that can weigh down on a creativity. you know. So we want to really make sure that we understand that creativity is not just what happened today. This thing Creativity is not really the only thing that we need to think about when we're talking about create being creative, right? There's other elements to it, right? Sorry, I lost a signal here on something. There's other things that take place in when things are happening, right? So it's not just a creative process, it also has to do with your environment, your surroundings, the people that you're connected with, right? Creative burnout is a real thing, right? You can be, but it's not spiritually, it's usually emotionally. It's something that's wearing you down. Every artist, filmmaker, musician, and storyteller hits that wall at some point. The moment when the ideas slow down, the energy dips, and even opening your laptop feels like lifting a piano. It's not laziness, it's not lack of talent, it's mental and emotional exhaustion, constantly producing, promoting, and pushing your craft forward. And in today's nonstop content world, that pressure can pile up. So that's another thing. We're trying to keep up, right? We're trying to keep up with everyone. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? And that pressure of keeping up sometimes can weigh on a person and can also slow them down creativity, can slow down creativity. So when we're creating, you have to remember a few elements. you know First, you have to say, what am I trying to say with this piece of creativity? Two is like, can I create this in a smooth environment? Am I being bogged down by something? you know and three, am I physically in a good place? Am I getting enough rest? Am I drinking enough water? Am I eating well? Do I have people in my environment again? Again, that's the number one, the number two, right? The environment. Are you in an environment that is strong enough to do that? But you physically is different. So the environment is the environment that you're in, but you yourself, are you taking care of yourself? That weighs down on creativity as well, you know, and it makes it really difficult. People talk about, yeah, but I mean, look at all these guys that did all these drugs and they did look at Jimi Hendrix, he did drugs and look how all the stuff that he did and he was great. And he was like, I think Jimi Hendrix is dead, right? He's been dead a long time. He's been dead 50 years, over 50 years, you know, he ain't coming back. He created a huge impact. Just imagine what he would have created had he not been uh, taking drugs, right? And it goes like that for all those guys that have died. The 27 Club, basically, right? They all died at that age, and they all had amazing opportunities to impact the world in a way that they probably didn't even understand how powerful they were. You know, Unfortunately, they couldn't even take it, right? So, physical, mental, all these things are really key factors to being creative, and to make sure that when you have a good mental state and you feel good and you're taking good care of your body and you sit down to create, that you're in an environment that allows you that creativity, that you don't have kids running around, that you don't have your spouse or your partner kind of at you. How long are you going to be? How long is it going to take? How long is it? When you have these kind of things, you have to take action quickly on that, because it will drain decades from you. I'm telling you, it will drain you, because you don't they don't understand what you're doing, and it's really difficult to explain to someone who just doesn't get it what it is that you're working on. And sometimes you may not even know how to articulate it, what you're working on and what your goals are. It's just the way it is, right? So the key isn't to panic, right? You don't want to panic during these things. You have to protect your creative flame. Well, how do you do that? Well, one of the most important things that you can do is surround yourself with other creators who operate at a high level. This is very, very important. This is why you should have groups. You can build your own group. You can start a group on one of the platforms and create a private group and invite people that you think are actually creating at the level that you're creating at. And even if you want to create even higher than that, you know, that that's something that you really have to really focus on, and make sure that you get people on there that are not just your friends. Make people that they're there because they are just as powerful. They are creating wonderful content. They're very, very committed to their craft. They're doing it, and you don't have to invite them like say, "Hey, why don't you come with me and help me create this team?" No, you can say, "Listen, I respect what you're doing so much that I'm putting a group together of people that I respect and artists that I, so we can share ideas and kind of motivate each other. Would you like to be part of that?" Who's going to say no? I would love that. I would love to be part of that. I'll be like, hell yeah, you know. Um, Now, when you're in these groups, you will audit the group. When you put this group together and see, well, who is really doing it and who is just talking about doing it and who is saying that they're going to do this and they're going to do that. I want to do this. I'm going to, whatever it is, who is actually doing it. Okay. That's the element. So I want you to make sure that you understand the differences of what it means when we say create, operate at a high level. It doesn't mean someone that's already successful and making a huge money. No, that means someone that you see them creating their content. They're out there. They're getting their videos done, edited. You see them producing something on a daily basis, and you know what they're doing, and you know that they're talented. They have a website, they have their email lists, they have their shows if they're musicians, they have their projects that they're working on if they're actors or filmmakers, or if they're writers, they have their little pieces, little tidbits that they would read online. If they're poets, they will do some of their poetry online and have their pages on that. So these are all ways that you can make sure that you're inviting the right person, and not just someone who you like, not just someone who's a friend of yours. It's nice to have friends and it's nice to have people that you like, but this is for a different purpose. Just remember, when you're together with people like that, energy is contagious. When you're around people who are building, experimenting, and dreaming big, it naturally elevates you. um, Community matters, mentorship matters, conversations matter. Sometimes one great idea shared over coffee can reignite a whole season of inspiration. So this is very, very important to find people that are doing it, that are working at the high level, and that you can connect with in a way that's meaningful, and that you can bring something to the table to them. You can bring them something that will make them contagious, that it will be so much energy that everyone in that group will just have this, it will just be contagious to all of them. Very, very important. Now, I'm going to give you 5 practical ways to keep your creative fire burning. These are just 5 things that I just kind of do. Some of them can bleed into one another. They may sound similar, but they're not. You want to also make sure that you explore your own methods and your own ways to keep the fire burning, right? I take things from so many different artists and so many different creators, and I'm motivated by them, not because of their tremendous success. Some of them may have tremendous success. Some of them may just be people that I admire because they're great artists, and I see them working at it, on a daily basis. That becomes very exciting when you're around that, So I find I pull things from other artists and I make my own list of things, and I get motivated by seeing a great artist do something, and then I go home and I'm like, man, and that excites me. That makes me want to keep going. So number one here is take intentional breaks. Step away without guilt. Rest isn't quitting, it's refueling. Sometimes I'm here on my computer and I'm writing or I'm working on something, and it's just, I got to put these shows together. I do 6 shows a week. I got to get them together. I got to research what I want to talk about. I got to have a subject matter that I haven't repeated myself, although sometimes I do, because my narrative is pretty simple, right? But I got to figure out ways that I want to communicate. I got to do the artwork and all the stuff that I got to do. And sometimes it's a lot. So I just get up, I go grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something. I sit on my porch, take a deep breath, kind of just take a breather. And it's okay. It's not that you're kind of giving up. Sometimes you might want to take a day and say, tomorrow I'm just going to spend time with my kids, or I'm going to go for a drive, or I'm going to go get something to eat at a restaurant, or I'm going to do something that is outside of what you normally do, just to kind of change things up. Number two is try something new. Switch formats, explore different genre. Shoot vertical instead of horizontally. Verticals right now are massive, right? So you can shoot a vertical, start writing a vertical film. I just started doing that. Write short instead of long. Novelty wakes up the brain. Do something that you haven't done before, or maybe something that you haven't done in a long time and that you kind of like want to get back into again. And you've been thinking about it. Just try something completely new. A new instrument that you've been thinking about. You're like, I'm going to try this instrument. Go down to Guitar Center and try out some new instruments or something. That becomes something that because your brain now is thinking it's getting challenged on something. Now you're thinking about something new, and new electromagnetic things in your mind and with your brain, and blood is flowing and energy is flowing, and you as a spiritual being now are more elevated because you're more excited about what it is that you're working on, and all of that combined can really shift something in you. So try something new. Number three is set clear, exciting goals, not just deadlines, vision driven goals that remind you why you started. So set clear and exciting goals, and what does that mean? Well, at the end of this week, I want to finish my first draft, of something that you're writing, let's just say. Or by the end of this week, I'm gonna do this monologue. It's like 3 pages long. I'm gonna learn this monologue. I don't care. I'm gonna learn it this week. And that is very clear. That's a very clear, and you write it down. I always mention, I have my book that I'm always carrying around with, and I have a lot of these books that I've completed throughout my years. And when I put them on the shelf and I buy a new one, and I start writing down my thoughts, and I start setting my goals and putting them out there and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and having a schedule. Okay, this week I'm going to finish the schedule, and but make sure that they're clear. Not like someday I want to do this, or I'm going to really work hard to get to this thing. No, no, no. Set a clear one. It doesn't even have to be that. You could say, I'm going to this week sometime I'm going to go to Costco and I'm going to buy some things, some energy stuff to give me more energy. This week I'm going to go work out 2 times a week. Something. Just but set a goal. Set something clear, and then elevate that goal. you know, Make it a little bit more driven, vision driven. Like, why do you want to work out? Okay, because I want to be mentally clear. I want to feel better. I want to breathe better. I want to do more things. And then you get out there and you start taking care of that body, and your body starts doing well, and your mind starts doing well. All these things really, really matter. So set a clear and exciting goal. Number four is keep a journal. Like I said, I have my journal. I also have something on my phone for sometimes I have an idea, a film idea, or a show idea, or even just a line that I thought of that was funny that I could put somewhere. Um, so I do that. That's like a side thing. But also you can keep a journal. Ideas don't always arrive fully formed. Capture fragments, phrases, random sparks. They add up. They really do. I mean, a lot of my films that I've shot in the past were from my journal. I just came up with an idea for a film. Matter of fact, the one that I have that I'm working on right now, I'll show it to you right here. This film right here, Not Our Time. I'm working on that. That came from an idea that I had while I was driving. I was thinking about brothers. I have a brother, and I don't see my brother too often. And we have a great relationship, my brother and my sisters and all that. But sometimes brothers don't. And I was thinking of the Bible story of Cain and Abel, and I thought, man, I mean that's the ultimate betrayal, right? And I thought, what if you had that personality, but not with the tragic ending, but if you had that personality, what would it be like if you lose a loved one, and that relationship between them, if that's where you both lived in. And so I started pondering that around, and I wrote that down either on my book. I don't remember if it was in my book or on my phone. I think it was in my book. And I just wrote it down and wrote like two or three sentences. Brothers, Cain and Abel, lose their mother at an old age. They're senior themselves, and that relationship, building that up again. I just wrote that down, and that's what started the spark. And then I left it there, and it was there. I went back to it later on. I was like, oh yeah, let me work on this. So keep a journal. Number five, actively seek inspiration. Go out, nature, music, films, live performances, museums. Feed your mind with greatness. Go out sometimes and listen to some live music. I haven't done that this year, believe it or not, and we're already in March. I know we've had some crazy weather here in Nashville with the ice storm, and we had power outage, and the house here got kind of beat up, which they had to fix. A lot of things that occurred, but I'm going to start now. The weather's getting nice. I want to get out there, and I want to be able to uh, experience something new, new music. Watch a film. I watch a lot of films, so that always helps me. I watch a lot of YouTube videos of live performances. Um, I watch a lot. I watch. I try to always feed my mind with something, um, not necessarily new, but that it inspires me. A great scene from a film that I've seen 20 times, 100 times. I'll still watch it just for that inspiration, and I love it. I love doing that. So that's something that you can do, and that's number five. So creative burnout doesn't mean you're done. It usually means you've been going hard, and that's something to be respect. That's something to respect. Step back, recalibrate, reconnect with your tribe, and remember the spark that got you started is still there. Sometimes it just needs a little oxygen. So that, I talk about your why. Remember, we did a show on that. Well, when you say about what's your why, what is my why? Go back to it. Make sure you know what your why is. So when you're feeling like, oh, I don't know why I'm doing this, you can go back and be like, oh, that's why I'm doing it. Because I love that feeling that it gives me. I love how it makes other people feel. Um, I love creating this because I love the sound, of the music or whatever it is. It's still there. The spark is still there. And you want to make sure that you continue to find it. All right, friends. You know, in the mornings, sometimes here, especially on a Monday morning, I feel like creatively not, I don't know, not strong. I guess a lot of challenges, um, a lot of things that you have to kind of overcome in life, and sometimes it makes you feel a little depressed, and also sometimes you're going, and you're nonstop, and then you have to take a breather. I got a busy day today as well. I got an appointment downtown or down in further south. I have an appointment. Then I have to come back. I promised my son that I was gonna hang out with him today, so I got to get back here and hang out with my boy. He's been missing me. He had a sleepover, and then he came back yesterday, and we wanted to hang out last night, and I had a show to do. I had to do a Sunday night show. Then I had to prepare for this morning show, and we didn't get to hang out as long as we wanted to, and he was a little disappointed. So today I have to do that. So there's stuff that you're always constantly doing, but you got to put that time for yourself. You got to take that breather. You got to look out and be like, okay, what am I working on? What am I doing? Why am I not inspired? Why am I not creating at a high level? Whatever the case may be present with yourself. Be focused on yourself. And that's usually what I do. And I've been doing that lately a lot more, trying to figure out, like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Am I inspiring anybody? Am I doing anything? Are these morning videos that I do here, does this matter? Anybody care? Will somebody see this in 100 years and think this guy was nuts? Or maybe think this guy had something good to say? I don't know. But I do know that it makes me feel a good look, that I'm doing this, and it inspires me. And I really hope, I really, really, truly hope that it inspires you. Thank you so much for tuning in, friends. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful day out there. Mondays, let's have a great week together. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. Take care. God bless you. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always,